Dylan Thomas, rock star, poet, alcoholic, genius. Pretty powerful descriptors for one man, a chubby-faced Welshman. But I can tell you right now, they may not even come close to encompassing the magnitude of the contribution he made to English literature. Let's start by listening to Richard Burton read one of his best poems, which he wrote when he was only 19 years old. And death shall have no dominion.
And death shall have no dominion. Dead men naked, they shall be one with a man in the wind and the west moon.
And death shall have no dominion. A great reading by a great actor. And dead men naked, they shall be one. You may have asked yourself, what exactly does that mean? But to me, it has a very simple message. Dead men naked, they shall be one, talks about death as the great equalizer. And it is, because when all of us pass through that abyss known as death, the great transition known as death, we join a vast army of men and women who are now our brothers and sisters.
When their bones are picked clean and the clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion.
Though lovers be lost, love shall not. Now, that is a natural progression, I think, from the idea that death is the great equalizer. Here, we have something far more positive. We have the love between a man and a woman, a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, that transcends their own end. Somehow or other, friends remember, maybe they have children they remember, but somehow or other, love does not die. Now, you say, that sounds kind of touchy-feely, wishy-washy, but I'll tell you, for an old romantic like myself, I am prepared to say, like Dylan Thomas, love in its eternal form rules the universe.
And death shall have no dominion. Under the windings of the sea, they lying long shall not die windily. Twisting on racks when sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. Faith in their hands shall snap in two, and the unicorn evils run them through. Split all ends up, they shan't crack, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. No more may gulls cry at their ears, or waves break loud on the seashores. Where blew a flower, may a flower no more lift its head to the blows of the rain. Though they be mad and dead as nails, heads of the characters hammer through daisies, break in the sun, till the sun breaks down, and death shall have no dominion.
I guess it would be fair to say, at least when it came to recordings, that Dylan Thomas was a bit of a Richard Burton wannabe. Wannabe, but never was. He took a job at the BBC reading radio plays, did a great job. Ended up writing propaganda movies, great propaganda movies. But when it came down to reciting his poetry, nothing could touch Richard Burton. Now, it should be said that both men were Welsh. Richard Burton was a bit more Welsh than Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas lived a somewhat anglicized existence. His father had first at university, He was a bit of a failed poet who never got a job outside of a high school. There was a frustration inside that. We're going to talk about fork lightning later, but that's for now. Just say he had a frustrated father, but both men began their careers in Wales. Both men leapfrogged into the much larger world. Burton never had a Welsh accent. Sorry, that's incorrect. Burton did have a Welsh accent. He got rid of it. Dylan Thomas probably never had one. He couldn't read Welsh. Burton could. But the two men had something in common that transcended their Welshness. They had a love of the English language, its vastness, its cadence, its ability to bring out of ourselves an emotion through its power of words, the power of sound, and Dylan was very much into the power of sound, to transport us from our everyday life into something a little more special. I have friends, poets, who've been struggling their entire life to become successes. Dylan Thomas had none of that kind of problems. He struck gold at the first swing of the pick. He was living in Swansea, still a teenager. He was writing at 16, 17. He was unemployed, by the way. He never finished. Unlike his father, he never finished. He was an educational washout. He started writing back in his family home in a little wee bedroom on a clanky typewriter or a notebook. He probably stole from school. And he was writing poems so good that he got one of them published in a second tier, third tier literary magazine. Or at least I didn't know what it was. Fortunately for Dylan, a guy named T.S. Eliot, Mr. T.S. Eliot of Poof Rock, Wasteland fame, read the poem and said, "This guy is the newcomer." He wrote him a letter. He introduced him to London literary circles. Suddenly, before Dylan Thomas was old enough to vote, he was already a figure in London intellectual society. It was a major achievement. And how did he do it? Or what? How did he handle it? Well, that is a story that's going to touch a lot on his personality. Yes, Dylan Thomas definitely lucked out young. Thanks to luminaries such as T.S. Eliot, he got an entry into London. London, let me tell you, London was a far cry from Swansea. Swansea was about as bourgeois and about as conservative, as about as stodgy as you can get. London was swinging. He took to London with perhaps an excessive amount of passion. One thing about Dylan Thomas, he believed nothing exceeds like excess. And he practiced that with alcohol, with booze. I don't know the name of the ale, but he drank a lot of it. With women. I don't know their names, but he had a lot of them. And with hijinks. He was the clown of the pub. He kept everyone amused when they weren't throwing stones at him. Now, that seems to fit exactly my title. Rockstar poet, alcoholic. But then I made the terrible mistake of actually doing some research, going through the YouTube videos. And by the way, if you ever want to do a poetry thing, you can do so by going to YouTube videos. Guys like Andrew Barker have done a fantastic job on so many poems. Anyway, to get back to it, Dylan Thomas was playing a game, or maybe he was not, but he was never the ladies' man he pretended to be. Some of the ladies he slept with said he was more of a cuddler than a Don Juan. Some of the people he drank with said basically it was more show than inebriation. I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other. I'm just going to say, as I said at the very beginning, you're going to find things out about Dylan Thomas maybe you didn't want to know, but that will portray him as a man of far greater complexity than he has come down to us through books and literary reviews.